to the graduate fiction seminar at Southern Illinois University Carbondale, and we're going to spend the next 50 minutes or so. We'll go until 45 minutes, say, with story time from, pardon me, from members of the fiction MFA. Who's going to go first? I vote for Kevin because Kevin came ready to go.
I can go first. I don't mind.
Yeah, no, I know you don't.
Thank you. All right. So despite my outfit, I just wore this one because I like dressing weird, as anyone who knows me knows. Sometimes I just do this. Two, also because like we're focusing on horror, and I kind of wanted to be like a weird horror-ish mind clown sort of thing. I don't know. It made sense in my mind, but I love how I look. Um, but
That's enough for me, man. That's a
about
yeah.
that I should have been one. But what I have for you all is a twine game. So let me get that. I think I have to share my screen. I don't know if I can actually like share it with you all. I don't think that's how twine works.
Well, just for the sake of the presentation, just share the screen, and we'll
Okay,
put our choices in the chat,
sounds good.
and we can play it that way,
All right.
but then at the end, share the link.
Okay. So I
Oh,
will
pardon
share
me,
this
gracious.
gesundheit. I will share this with you all right now. All right. I haven't finished it yet, but it's mostly done. So I will read this for you all. So you wake up again for the third time this night. You can barely feel your limbs under the comforter. It's a struggle to even open your eyes, but you somehow manage it, hoping that it's still the middle of the night. You can't imagine going to work like this. The options are check window or check your phone. Where are you all voting? All right, most of you all are voting phone. All right, you're gonna vote phone. All right, so you check your phone. So you check your phone. It's still about a half an hour before you really need to get ready. Maybe you could get just a little more sleep in. So you may as well start the day off now that you're up, or a few more minutes and then you'll get up. So do you sleep in, or do you few more minutes? All right, few more minutes and you'll get up. You decide that a few minutes more of sleep should do you well. You lay your head back down, close your eyes, and try to sleep. After some fruitless effort, you realize that sleep simply isn't going to happen, and you're tired of staring at the bedroom ceiling in the near dark. So you check your phone again. You spent 30 minutes trying to go back to sleep. No dice. As much as it pains you, you probably should get ready. So you begrudgingly get ready for work, or do you call in sick? Get ready. Okay, most of you all are going for get ready. Okay, so you begrudgingly get ready for work. You undress yourself as you head for the shower. On the way in, you catch a glimpse of your naked body in the mirror. Can't help but notice that you've been steadily gaining weight. Do you sigh and take a shower, or do you think you've really lost control of yourself, haven't you? Self-hate or shower? Sigh and shower, sigh and shower, sigh. Okay, most of us are deciding not to hate ourselves. I love that. So you turn on the shower head, and after waiting for it to settle to a lukewarm temperature, you get under it and go through your bathing routine, keeping your eyes closed most of the time so you don't have to look down at your body. Then you dry off and you brush your teeth. All right, so then you exit the shower and dry yourself off with an off-white towel smelling vaguely of mold. You haven't done the laundry in quite some time, you're realizing. For now, you need to brush your teeth. Do you brush your teeth and get yourself dressed? Do you make sure that your brush is clean, or do you examine the sink and its surrounding elements? Examine, check the brush, sink. Okay, most of all, you all want to do the sink. As you brush, you examine the sink and its surrounding elements. As you brush your teeth, however, you notice the spotted reflective surface of your sink. your countertop containers, your mirrors all covered in tiny specks of who knows what. This is unacceptable. You have to clean this at once. So you grab a paper towel and a bottle of bleach spray and start spraying and wiping at every surface with proper diligence. You go over every last speck you can find, and then you go over them again. You go at it until you feel the bottle of bleach nearly empty of its contents. You feel woozy and your eyes start to sting and tear up. Your throat feels dry and a taste of soap. Oh God, what did you do? What did you do? And now you're having a panic attack. And you've lost because you've had a panic attack. So my game is basically you're trying to get through the whole day without having a panic attack. And if you get one, you lose. But you can try again if you really want to. There are lots of losing conditions and very, very specific winning conditions throughout all of it. But yeah, that is my Twine game. If you pick self-hate, you would get to the panic attack much faster. The winning conditions really are just like a lot of them are fairly random, but mostly if you like choose to not hate yourself or choose to do things that specifically do not cause anyone anxiety, you will probably make it to the end of the night or the end of the day. But even then, the end of the day is a very bittersweet, fruitless sort of end. It's a very boring, very sad day, as it shall always be. This OCD and anxiety are lovely. Exactly. This is based off of OCD and anxiety. Yeah, the title of it is There is a Devil Inside Your Head. Yeah. That was my Twine game. I hope you all enjoyed it.
I also have a Twine game if we want to keep rolling on Twine.
Yep.
Cool. All right, let me see if I already have it open. Cool, can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Sweet. All right, and yeah, let's do the chat again. I kind of like that method. But how do I see it? All right, cool.
Yeah, by the way, Kevin, I was trying to get us back to a normal screen, but I think Twine is such a winning idea for stuff like this.
They built this city. All right. They built the city into the fossilized skeleton of a dead god. They drilled their homes into his ribs, moving up and up to create high-rise apartment buildings that curl over and around hundreds of feet in the air. His spine became a natural thoroughfare, leading from the glossy peak of the skull to the slums in the pelvis. South to Asstown or north to Skull Heights? All right, we're going to Asstown. The massive structure of the pelvis covers the entire district in shade for much of the day, with just a few small park areas built to capture precious sunlight. Junkie vampires hang out on the corners offering to suck dick for blood. Your son picks up a syringe from the ground. Your wife is displeased. South to the lower rim or north to Skull Heights? Okay. It's only years later that your youngest daughter, Anna, will understand the double entendre of moving from Asstown to the lower rim. She'll be telling her first serious girlfriend about the last vacation her family took together, how details from that trip later surfaced in divorce proceedings. Why would he take you there? The girlfriend will ask. Honestly, I think he just thought it was funny, your daughter will reply. You won't be privy to this conversation, obviously. Your children stopped returning your calls years ago. North to Skull Heights or Detour? You arranged it all with a buddy from work, planned an urgent meeting, and escaped from your family. He calls, you make the requisite excuses to your wife, and set off alone. You'll meet up with them in a couple hours. Drink or fuck? Half the windows on this block are lit up in red, and you can make out the silhouetted bodies of a whole range of species as you move past. You're on vacation. You're here for adventure. Afterwards, you lie in her bed, wrapped in the warmth of her tentacles and breathing hard. You know you should feel guilty, but that won't set in until later. Your wife doesn't ask about the work emergency when you reconnect in the central artery of cardiac station. Your son Tommy leads you around by the hand, showing off his knowledge of the massive root systems that grew out of the dead god's composition. You feel a pinprick of genuine pride listening to him speak. Someday, you think, he'll be a doctor, a scientist. Long after you're dead and gone, Tommy will reference this moment in an academic treatise on the ecology of dead titans. They won't call them gods anymore. You aren't mentioned in the paper, and it might appear to the reader that Tommy explored the station alone, a 6-year-old in awe of the chaos. North to Skull Heights or back to the hotel? All right, Skull Heights. On the trip up the spine, your children crowd against the window. They proudly narrate each landmark as you pass: the Divine Tower, Phalange Station. Your wife smiles softly, but you glimpse something pained in her expression. Take her hand or ignore her. In the juddering train car, your wife's hand is cool and dry and comforting. The motion makes you a little ill, the shaking uncomfortably blending with the coffee and vodka in your stomach from this morning. You notice, not for the first time, streaks of gray in your wife's hair. You catch the eye of a young werewoman across the car, her plunging neckline daring you to stare. Looking away, your mind reels with visions of claws and fur and a stranger's voice moaning in your ear. Your wife ignores you. The dome of the skull has been smashed open, which bathes the district in golden light. Expensive boutiques line the bone walls, bars and coffee shops competing for space. Bubbling with excitement, the children gesture towards a massive play area down below, where slides and monkey bars have been carved into the dead god's teeth. Kids to the playground, or continue to Oculus Peak? The children explode out into the play area, flying across the ground and whooping and giggling. Your wife gestures toward a bench and you take a seat. The space around you echoes with the joyful shouts and screams of children playing, but your wife maintains a stony silence. Try to talk here or go for a drink. Your wife doesn't like to leave the children, but you lead her to a cafe a stone's throw away from the entrance to the park. Initially, she orders a coffee. You convince her to split a bottle of wine. You reminisce over your first date. She smiles a little at that, even laughs at the memory of watching you ice skate, tripping over yourself like a baby deer learning to walk. Eventually, you finish the bottle and head back to pick up the kids. Someday, you'll look back on this as the last of the good times. You'll wonder if she feels the same. Oculus Peak. The children hang on the rails at the very edge of the skull. From here, you can see the entire city stretching out below. It's dusk and lights are coming on in the swirling high rises of the ribs. You lift your middle child, Robert, onto your shoulders, and he digs his fingers into your hair, directing you like a horse. Your wife chats with another couple there at the edge. You wonder if she's distracted enough to miss you taking a sip from your hip flask. You wonder if Robert... Sorry, guys, I'm not to sneeze. You wonder if Robert can keep it a secret. Drink from the flask or return to the hotel? All right, hard on the drink. The last time you talk, before Robert starts screening your calls, he comes back to this moment. Did you know what you were doing? You'll feign ignorance. Bringing me in on a secret, making me choose a side, testing my loyalty. You'll tell him you had a problem back then, that you're better now, or that you're working on it. You'll ask him to forgive you. You'll ask him for money and he'll hang up. $20 appears in your checking account a week later. Return to the hotel. You spent more than you could afford on this suite. You wanted a wall between you and the children, a space for the quiet, halting intimacy you and your wife share all too rarely. She seems strangely shy as she undresses. pulling a thick nightgown over her head. You want to kiss her stretch marks. You want to weep and apologize and make love and make up. You want to go back to some distant, undefined point in your history together where things felt simple and warm. You do make love that night, unaware that it's the last time. Thanks, guys.
Okay, Jody. Jody.
I'm here. I was trying to fix my screen.
Jody. Are you all putting these twines up somewhere?
I struggled to find a place for mine. I tried itch.io, which was one of the more common ones that they said would host it, but I'm struggling to make it work. So not yet.
Bryce?
I haven't yet. I want to add some sound and visual elements
Sure.
potentially.
Yeah. No, I understand. Yeah. But you can put them up as alpha versions, you know what I mean? And, and get feedback from players and stuff like that. But no. I think you should go ahead and put these up. I mean, these are among the best twines I've seen. I mean, really, there's no comparison.
Okay, just linking them doesn't work. I tried it just to see what happened.
Yeah, mine just goes to my own folder. The itch.io was the only thing that looked like it might work, but there were so many things to figure out right before class.
Let's try to get that figured out. Because I really think you all should be putting these twines up there.
I thought the Twine platform hosted them on Twine, its own platform.
Not to make them playable as far as I could figure out.
I think they're only saved on your browser.
Yeah. Okay, do I already have ability to share screen?
Yes, you should.
Okay. I really only worked with one of these, by the way, because the Twine was just getting so big. But I do want to quickly walk you through one of the other scenarios. So I have several scenarios that go a lot of different directions. Some are shorter than others. I also worked off of the prompt that we were given last week. So to refresh your memory, I took the story of Hamlet, broke it down to bare bones with a little girl and her imaginary friend, and went from there and took it where Twine took it. Allow me to introduce you to Letty, the main character in this interactive adventure. Letty is a young girl with a mom, a dad, and a sister named Polly. Letty and her life seemed fairly ordinary until they didn't. Choose your imaginary friend. I'm going to choose for you because Larry the llama has one of my favorite traits, but I didn't flesh out the story for him, but I do want to show it. Hello, I am your new imaginary friend, Larry. Larry spits on you, run away. Yeah, I knew spits was going to be popular. That's why I went ahead and did it. Is this what an acid trip feels like? Things around you get shimmery and then begin to disappear, revealing your parents' room. Mom is crying and dad is yelling. Just as things begin to shimmer and disappear, you see dad raise his fist and mom screams. That's as far as that one has gotten. So we're going to go back, but I just really love the, psychedelic spit. So we'll see where that one takes me. Yeah, Merc the Merperson is the choice that I'm working with. So good choice. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Merc the Merperson. I am offering my services as your new imaginary friend. Run away! Or let's be friends. Let's try run away. It was pretty split. You run into your dad. He's looking at you suspiciously and like he's ready to start yelling at you. Do you lie or tell him the truth? We have one truth, lie. Yeah, I know I could depend on you guys for the lies. Lie. You make up a story about something that scared you on TV. He can tell you are lying and send you to your room. You go to your room. Merc says, now will you listen to my secret? You nod and Merc says, yesterday I did see your dad and mom begin to scream and yell and fight most loud. Your mom did run and your dad did follow, screaming his insults and she crying tears. Quickly he did turn with a raise of fist and struck down your mom, whose cries grew greater, leaving her alone and strode out the door. Go confront your dad. You go confront your dad. He laughs at you and leaves the room. You overhear your dad calling someone, but you can't tell who he is talking to. A little while later, there's a knock on the door. Your dad answers the door and says, she's right here. I hate that this needs to be done, but there's no other choice. Men come in white coats and take you away to the psych ward. Dad wins. The end. Would you like to try again? Do we have time for trying again?
Sure.
Okay. So we did not try Let's Be Friends, right? So let's do that. Would you like to hear a secret? Hell no, or sure? Alrighty then. Since Merc is invisible to everyone but you, Merc is able to see things ordinary people cannot. Merc tells you your dad has been hitting your mom. You're sad but not surprised. But what can I do? I'm just a kid. Merc shares their plan. Merc shrugs and disappears. It's looking like the plan. Merc tells you to go next door and explain to Mrs. Rosencrantz. Why would she believe me, you ask? Merc tells you that he knows her secrets too. Mr. Rosencrantz yells at her all the time, so she will believe you when you tell her your dad is hitting your mom. Go next door. You go to the Rosencrantz house next door, trusting Merc is telling the truth. You knock on the door and thankfully Mrs. Rosencrantz answers the door. You look like you've seen a ghost, she says. You nod, not wanting to explain about Merc and deciding a ghost may seem saner than a mer person named Merc. She invites you inside where you tell her everything Merc has told you. You're afraid she won't believe you, because no one ever seems to believe kids, but she does. She listens to the whole story, minus Merc, and when she sees your dad leave, walks with you to talk to your mom about it. They come up with a plan to get you to a safe place where your dad can't get to you. This doesn't feel like a long-term solution, but something is better than nothing. This is an indeterminate outcome. The end. Any time for more? Yes, no. I'm gonna go with telling the truth. The clown has not been developed yet, but it's on my list. You tell your dad about Merc. While you are telling him, your sister Polly comes into the room. She listens to your story. Your dad begins to laugh, mocking you and calling you names. He sends you and your sister to your rooms. Go to your room. Go to her room. Oh, one of each. Okay, we'll go to her room. You both go to Polly's room to hatch a scheme to confront your dad to get him to confess. You decide that Polly will dial 911 and hide behind the couch while you confront your dad, hoping the police will hear him and admit it and come to arrest him. The next day, you enact the plan. Polly dials the phone and hides. You call for your dad to come to the living room. As you begin confronting him, he gets angry and starts threatening to hurt Polly. You grab the closest thing to you and swing at his head. It is a lamp which breaks when you hit him with it. It cuts his head, but it doesn't knock him out. He is hitting you and dragging Polly around by the collar. You're very afraid. You glance over and see Mark looking at you helplessly. Just then you hear the sirens and the cops, having heard everything, burst in to arrest your dad. This is a favorable outcome. And that's probably all that I have time for, right?
Yeah.
I can go next.
Who's going next?
Oh, me. I'm sorry. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So keeping in the vein of fantasy and foreboding, this is the beginning of a short story that I was working on over the summer and picked back up. So this is the beginning of Drown. This place was named for the local god, a sea dragon huge and terrifying, with a body as strong as a riptide and jaws large enough to chew on the skyscrapers lining the financial district. Ava would think that's pretty ironic if it didn't weigh on her so much. In 6 years, this part of the city will be 10 feet underwater. Already, storm coming brings floods that swallow up the streets and echo away at the failing infrastructure. Trains don't run through these tunnels anymore, no buses either. Officials had stopped funding upkeep on the roads and government buildings, deciding to funnel the money into the half of the city that would survive the next decade. Wealthy residents all got out when the first data set was made public. Sinking. The bold-faced headline hangs like a sword over everyone's head, although it isn't quite true. It wasn't like the city was getting heavier, dragged down, or overburdened. The sea was rising to meet it. Consumed is the better word, but no one cares about semantics when money is on the line. $1 million penthouses and designer storefronts were sold for next to nothing or abandoned. Gimmicky tourist traps and cardboard hotels took their place, attracting visitors who were interested in seeing disaster happening real time. And there is a certain spectacle to it. Ava might be able to find some kind of whimsy or simpering charm in the way they all only wear galoshes, or storefronts have built water barriers around their entrances. You could set your clocks by the daily floods at high tide, an occurrence that only makes Ava sigh anymore. The pamphlets in the lobby of the hotel where she works make vapid claims, where the sky meets the sea. It's cute. The city officials who portioned off the two halves refer to this place as Lowtown. Locals have taken up a different moniker, The Rock. Of course, it wasn't always like this. For a long time, it was idyllic, a paradise. Ava had lived here her whole life. She grew up on the beaches, barefoot and wild, everything cooled by the breeze off the water, everything almost perfect. She's learned not to be bitter. Times change, she figures. Nothing can remain the same, even the sea.
I can go next.
I've got I've got a recording from you,
Mhm.
correct? And so you just let me know what you want me to do.
Yeah, you can just play it.
Okay. And I've got a couple of pictures as well.
Yeah, and you can put those pictures up after the recording.
After the recording, okay.
Bless you.
Yeah, Maggie's a good reader. Maggie's a really good presenter of her own work. Hang on a second, sorry. So shall I just play the recording now?
Yeah, that would work.
Okay, here we go.
And sorry for the subpar audio, by the way. It's not definitely not
Don't
professional
ever
sounding.
Apologize. We'll just assume that it's a stylistic choice.
Okay.
I'm losing my arms to the deep soil of this farm. My skin is turning spinach green, my fingers have become winter sweet carrots, and now that the hairs on my head are transforming into dandelion puffs, I fear anything beyond a gentle breeze will leave me bald. My nose is the budding part of a thistleweed, my legs are unhusked cobs of corn. I've not lost my eyes, though I suspect the purple hue shimmering around the corners of my vision is the slowly approaching ghost of my dying cabbage patch. This is nothing out of the ordinary, of course, but there is something exceptionally different about knowing about a thing as opposed to actually experiencing it. I've considered myself ultimately lucky to be a product of a farm couple. There are worse things in the world than looking like an awkwardly assembled model of vegetation. Though if I had had my pick, and if I wasn't hopelessly atrocious at the arts, I would have chosen to be a sculptor, or a painter, maybe. Artists are considered to be the most appealing and jarring to look at. The more engrossed they are with their crafts, the more incomprehensible and magnificent their bodies seem to become. It's said that the more skilled artists are at their work, the more uncanny they will wind up looking. I wonder about that sometimes, about being a farmer. Should I be ashamed that my nose has turned into a typically unwanted weed? And does that speak badly of my relationship to the soil? Should my corn legs be husked and pleasing to the eye? Come what may, it's entirely beyond my realm of control. The low, rugged humming of a decade-old tractor comes to a halt, and a discomforting quiet settles into the air. Don't forget to pick the last of the snacking peppers, Father says, his aged head of dill peeking out from the cracked tractor door. His limbs are moss-ridden logs of wood, resilient and tethered to their place of birth. They're beautiful in an unsophisticated, simple kind of way. Winter has been prowling into our farm, at times courageous with its unmerciful winds, and at others gentle, blanketing our crops with thin sheets of velvet snow. Our farm dislikes it all, though, and most of the crops are beginning to wither. This year's harvest season is coming to its end, and so comes the beginning of my inevitable yearly torpor. I look down at where I'd been kneeling and pulling out carrots for the last hour, and notice the distinct indents in the mud made by my knees, bumpy and uneven to match the kernels of corn peeking out from behind the husks hugging my legs. Father steps out of the tractor and lands on the ground with a heavy thud. He walks to the side of it, giving the now closed door 2 soft taps before heading towards the shed. His movements have eternally been slow, never hurried, never anxious. He is everything I'm not. I am, in contrast, forever hurried, forever eager and apprehensive. But he's never shamed me for it.
I was hoping for one final rooster crow. Are you actually from an agricultural background, Salome?
No, but I've worked at farms and I work at one currently.
Okay. Yeah, no, I was going to say I grew up. My family actually still operates a farm in West Virginia, and it's where I grew up. And that I would have been willing to believe that you grew up agricultural.
And then the pictures are just a couple of sketches that I did based on what I think the characters might look like.
Okay, hang on. So is that the dad?
So that's the dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like his tree trunk neck.
Mm.
And you drew these yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Do you frequently illustrate your own work?
No, actually. Yeah, rarely, actually. I like to draw, but I've not usually tried drawing my own characters.
Yeah, I like that she's this sort of fresh green plant, and the dad is this kind of old bark covered plant. My dad's in his 80s, and he's basically covered in bark now. My brother, too. beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, Puck, that's exactly right. Made something cursed. Okay, okay. Here we go. Gotta if there's something cursed, we gotta have that.
Alrighty, so this was in reference to last class. We were talking about other stories, and it didn't really incorporate structure so much as it intended to, but it's cursed. So I mean, it's probably a little cryptic because it's based off Oedipus, but nonetheless, we have vibes and they're rancid. So let me share my screen. Let me know if audio comes through. I certainly would like for it to, because that's the main cursed element we've got. So. I already have. It's all that I've done. Neither did I. Boy, the sun. I can't do it. Can't kill our son. Either you will or one of the servants must. Coincidences must be. All coincidences, all the way down. It cannot be him. Paranoid. If you're paranoid, it is coincidence. I get the belief. It haunts me in the same way that he still does. I cannot bear to suffer her sins. How long must I do so? How long must I live under them? I see him and you. Sometimes it's all that I see. I cannot bear the thought that it's one that never leaves me, one that's never left me. I did not spite the gods. I did nothing wrong. Neither did you. We didn't deserve this. Why must we be punished for his crime? Is it not suffering enough to live under it? Yay! So that's probably the only video you're gonna get from me, but I committed to it as much as I could. I think my computer also just freaked out, so hopefully I'm still here in some capacity.
You're still with us.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, but that works for horror.
Yeah, that was my
That's kind of stuff I love, though, and my son brings me things like that on the internet. He's like, oh, somebody posted this to some subreddit that he subscribes to or whatever. And he just, I mean, he's really into sort of low res, like YouTube horror channels and stuff like that. And there's a huge audience, for things that seem like, um, real encounters or found footage type stuff. Yeah, yeah. So no, that hits a good sweet spot.
Thank you. I try.
Good. You all, one of the craft talks I'm probably going to give later this semester is about sort of the poetic sensibility as opposed to the lawyerly sensibility, right? But you all do a good job with that. Past MFA cohorts have tended to write fiction that was very explanatory and literal, right? But you all really do, you very nicely exploit our pathetic side, the side of us that has to do with feeling and intuitive connection and poetry. I think that I don't feel like I've been whatever it would be like writer splained to. You know, I feel like I get to experience a lot of your work without having to, you know, read a treatise about why you do your work, and that's really wonderful. And that was true last week, and it's been true this week as well. So it seems like a very it seems like a widespread impulse in this class, and it's one I very much like. Is it's pathos versus logos, and you're very much on the pathos side, and I think that's where we need to be. We academic writers are too often on the logos side, like the side of, you know, if I explain this to you well enough, you will feel it and sympathize with it. Okay, we can probably do one more tonight. Who else? Catherine, do you want us to watch your movie?
Yeah, we could do it. We could do it. This was also a trying to go forward with Josh's prompt last week, where I was thinking about Frankenstein and what if old people had exoskeletons and things like that, and demographic trends and having way too many old people, all that stuff. So I tried to do iMovie. So this was a first try for me. I was fearful of just doing audio. I thought I had to have video, but then, or something. But then I thought, well, I'm not up to dealing with the Creative Commons stuff that you have to put, you know, up. So then I just put up random photos from my phone. So you'll all have to excuse me.
You don't need to worry about Creative Commons or anything like that for this class.
Okay.
For our, well, I guess if we're streaming this, that's an interesting question, Matt. We'll need to talk about that. Okay, good. Very good.
Okay. So yeah, so there are cuss words in it. So be forewarned. And
if there aren't cuss words, I'm not interested. So.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. Wait a second. I need to make sure that I hit the right buttons.
I just hope it works. Although I guess I could screen share, because I think, you know, Alexis had a similar, you know, I think it looked like iMovie.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It will work. Oh, God, assuming I can get back to the share. Here we go. All right, here we go. Optimize for video clip. That looks tiny. Is that tiny?
Hopefully it'll get bigger.
There we go. Is it big now?
It's bigger.
Okay, good.
My name is Yomotsu Shikome, the ugly woman of the underworld. But you can call me Bachan. I know what you're thinking, little weeb. What big teeth you have, grandmother. Yes, implants, of course. But let's not talk about my teeth. Let's talk about my glory days. I used to be well known, millions of followers. It all started with that first celebrity endorsement. Izanami-sama hired me. Yes, that Izanami, sister wife of the seventh creator Kami. She hired me when her husband Kami shamed her. When she went to the underworld, he refused to visit her. How lonely she became. Do you have any idea what it's like? The underworld? I could tell you. Don't worry, you'll soon be visiting me here. I have a plan for us. But let's talk about the Kami. Izanami's husband, her man god. What do you suppose that he offered to justify his abandonment of his sister wife? He said he did not want to see her in her decayed state. Hell hath no fury, right? She sent me to devour him.
Maddie, hun, you need to get to the bathroom. I do not. You do. I see your bladder's at 93%. Come on, you know how I love seeing your inner thigh tattoos. So sexy. Get ready to squeeze now, Maddie. 3, 2, 1, juice on. Why do you always act like I'm killing you? God, the old bitch. Or wait, which one is this again? Oops, wrong channel. Guess she didn't have to pee after all. Why don't we euthanize all these fuckers and just divvy up their assets? Come see me, Clark. Who the fuck told that crazy old bitch my real name? I know a lot about you. Fuck. Welcome to SigFig, the talk show for people who aren't morons. Most everyone knows that next week Congress is set to vote on the Near-Term Human Extinction Prevention Act, or NITHEP. What you may not know is that an obscure rider to that act could, if passed, upend the lives of every employed American under 30. This rider would randomly assign each young employed person primary economic responsibility for a personal pod of unsupported elders, a PUE, or PEW, as it's coming to be known. Is this drastic legislation really necessary? How did we even get here? To find out, let me introduce our guest, Dr. Cruz Fantod, a haptics pioneer and pastist. Dr. Fantod, can you help us understand the demographic tsunami that threatens to drown every American under 30 in a churning, grasping, foul-smelling wave of old people? Clark, are you still there? Come see me. I want to touch your skin. Let me tell you something, dear. I have net worth. Back in the day, I monetized. Can your other grandmothers say that? Ah, finally, Clark's clocked off. He's my actuator. They didn't want to use the word controller. He operates my exoskeleton remotely with his little joystick. He thinks his snarky little actuator friends whispered his real name into my headset, but they did not. I found it out myself. I've been finding out a lot about him. Things are asymmetrical between us, though. He knows nothing about me. For example, he doesn't realize that I recently came out of retirement. Not to devour bad husbands. Not this time. We hags no longer give a shit for husbands. Most are dead, or close enough, at least. What we want to see is kids. Someone's kids, anyway. But they don't want to see us. Not in our decayed state. How lonely we've become. As for me, I want to get a hold of Clark. I have a plan for us. Of course, Clark just thinks I'm gaga. I'd rather call it strategic opacity. I hope his black headdress is ready.
Yeah.
Creepy enough for you?
Damn. No, that's outstanding. Was that the old graduate housing?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I thought it had to have been. That's a really good choice.
Oh, thank you. It's
Yeah.
such a great setting.
That is. I mean, every time I pass it, I'm just like, it has that feeling of, abandoned academic space. So, and you could just hear the arguments, the old ghost arguments. Okay, well, let's come back in about 5 minutes, and we can do Q&A. I think we're going to be rejoined by Sarah and Liz, so we can ask them questions. You can feel free to ask me any questions that you need to direct at me, and we can ask each other questions. It can be a kind of free for all. So I'll see you back here in about 5 minutes.